Hey, Jeremy Hood here, founder of Restaurant Results Partners. We help you grow your restaurant by attracting customers and fueling growth. And today I wanted to share with you one of the easiest ways that you can lower your food and labor costs, and that's just by paying attention. For those of you that don't know, I helped grow my family's restaurant business from one location. We were doing just over $1 million to two locations, just under $3 million, and we learned a lot along the way. And we tried several things along the way that didn't work. Some things did work, and one thing that we did try was we signed up for some expensive software that was supposed to help us get down to 55% prime cost, and several $100s a month. We spent all this time setting it up, and then guess what? No one used it because it was too complicated. So it's one thing to think about as you're working on your business is, I've had the most success. We've had the most success by just keeping it simple. So when we were able to cancel the subscription for that software, it was, saving us $800 a month or whatever. It was one of the first things that we did when we could. So after that, I just sort of took it upon myself to create a simple worksheet. It's on Google Sheets. It's live. You don't have to worry about losing it. It's in the cloud. And you can either have your managers fill it out, or we actually have a virtual assistant that fills it out. So you don't have to worry about someone paying attention to it. Someone, you can just delegate this task and make sure they're doing it. So today, I just want to kind of walk you through this worksheet so you can see how easy it is. So just to kind of give you a quick overview, we're going to track sales up here. We're going to track transactions. I like tracking transactions because it gives you just another data point to pay attention to. If your sales are up but your transactions are down, what is that telling you? You had some big catering orders, or your prices have gone up. So you want to make sure that you're still having a good amount of foot traffic walking through the door. And then we're going to have budgeted a budget for labor hours, which is my favorite way to control labor costs. And then also for purchasing for food cost. So don't let this intimidate you. It's really pretty simple. So let's just start by filling it out. And we're going to start by filling out a week. Like, let's just say last week is already complete. So we'll start there. So the first thing we're going to do is put in last year's numbers. And when you do that, you want to make sure you're comparing the same day of the week, not the same date, because February 4th last year is probably either a Monday or Saturday, one day on either side of that Sunday. And we always want to compare the same day of the week because most likely you're running the same specials, or, you don't want to compare, maybe you do have a busy brunch on Sunday to a Monday this year, because this is not going to be a fair comparison. So let's make sure that we're comparing the same day of the week. And I'm just going to throw some numbers in here. Cool. Now, I have a column right here for estimated sales. If you've been running your restaurant for a while, I'm sure you know how busy you are on any given day of the week within a couple $100s. But if you do catering, or if you have maybe big parties that make reservations, you want to be able to plan for that. So also you want to be able to use your current trends to kind of say, like, this is what we did last year, but we've been up a little bit or we've been down a little bit. So where can we either cut back on labor, or where do we need to add an extra person? So let's say, we were trending up. So we're just going to add a little bit each day. All right, so we're up a little bit. And then as the week goes, you're going to put in your actual sales. And you can see there's a variance down here that's going to calculate. So as I said, you probably have a pretty good idea of where your sales are going to be at. So I don't expect this variance to be too big. If it is, then you need to figure out what happened. Why did you get a big order? Was there some weather or something that caused people not to come in? All right, so after you fill out the whole week, you're gonna see each day up or down, and then a total at the end of the week. Just gonna throw in some numbers here. So you can see after the week is complete, or after you fill out last year's sales in there, it's going to calculate your average ticket. So another good data point. So you can see, is your average ticket going up? Is it going down? Again, I'm just throwing in numbers here just so you can see how it works. All right, didn't mean for that to happen. Have exactly the same amount of transactions. Let me just change this. All right, so this last week difference isn't going to have anything in there because there's nothing below this. So the difference is the whole amount. But as you can see, transactions were down 10 transactions, 1.1%. So now we're going to move to the next step, and that's filling out your labor percentage. I'm going to come back to this budgeted hours, but let's just say, let's just throw in some numbers here. You can see as you're filling out the actual labor, and again, you should be able to pull this information from your POS. It's going to calculate your actual labor percentage. And for the food costs, you're going to throw in everything, all your invoices for the week. Let's say you get a truck on Monday and Thursday. So maybe your first truck is $3,000. You can see it's going to give you a live running food cost percentage based on the sales that are already in there. And the budget's going to come down as well as we fill this out, and I'll show you that in a second. All right, so let's just say that was our your purchases for the week. So this is kind of what a complete week looks like. We've got sales versus last year versus predicted sales. What was the change in what we predicted and what actually happened? Transactions versus last year. I'm going to tell you the budgeted hours and budgeted food costs in a second. And then you're going to have your actual labor costs in here. And then when you're putting in your actual labor costs, if you're just using the numbers calculated from POS, they might be slightly understated because you have FICA taxes and state unemployment taxes and stuff like that. So if you want to be super accurate, just make sure to add all of that. If you don't have a way of just pulling that number, just as a rough estimate, you can multiply it times 1.065, which will give you a more accurate number. All right. So we've got that week in here. Now let's come up here to the top. These numbers are your food costs and labor costs goals. I would recommend putting something in here that is a little bit lower than what you're running currently right now, just to give yourself a little bit of a goal, a stretch goal. So we're at 35%. Let's go ahead and put 33% in here. And labor cost, we're at 27. let's say it's closer to 30 with the actual taxes. So let's put 28% in here. Now, as I mentioned earlier, my favorite way to control labor is with budgeted hours and labor hours. So we need to figure out what's your average hourly wage so that we can kind of give you an estimated budget of hours for each day. So to do that, just take a look at your last payroll, and we want to put everything in here. But again, if you're using like QuickBooks Online, it's pretty easy to find this number. There's a report literally called total payroll costs. But you want to include everyone's pay, the employer taxes that you have to match, any other kind of benefits or contributions, and throw that in there. So let's say it was 14,000 in this example. I'm going to assume a 2-week pay period, even though we recommend semi-monthly payroll, just to keep things simple. And let's say, that was 900 hours. And with the hours, if you have salaried managers, to keep things simple, just add 40, 45 hours a week, however many hours you want to say they work, to your total hours, and include their pay in the total payroll cost. If you want to be more accurate, then you can subtract their pay from the total payroll cost and subtract their hours, and that's going to give you so if you're going to subtract out salaried manager, you'll have to just make sure that you're adding it back in. It gets a little more complicated. I recommend just adding their pay in here and just adding some hours to the total hours, so you can kind of just keep everything nice and simple. But as you can see now, this is filled out. So if we're at closer to 30%, when we add taxes, even though it's showing 27 right now, our average wage is around $15.50. So based on the estimated sales that we put in here, it's saying, these are the budgeted hours that we have each day. And as you can see, it's slightly less than what we're actually running. Maybe one or 2 days we're under, but for the most part, it's telling us, hey, we need to cut back on those hours. So this is why I like to use hours, because it's like, are we making sure everybody's taking a break? Can you schedule someone 15 minutes later or 30 minutes later? So like, where can you get creative and really stagger the schedule so that you can hit these goals? Because again, within a couple $100, like what your sales are going to be, what you're paying your staff. So you can literally see, how many hours you have to play with each day. So, let's go ahead and do the next week. I'm going to copy the estimated sales. And last year's transactions. Cool. All right, so now we have a number for your food costs, and as you put in your invoices throughout the week, it's going to come down. So obviously things happen throughout the week. Let's say you had a busy Sunday and you expect everything else to stay the same. You have a little bit more wiggle room to order some more food. You can either guess like, hey, I know I have like another $200, or if you wanted to like make it official, just add the actual sales up here. Oh, that's too much. And you can see that number jumped up a couple $100. So again, try to make this super easy for your staff to use, for you to use, and as you fill this out, probably a little low. Well, sales were a little higher than expected, so if you actually hit those sales with those with that number, but you can see if it was closer to the projected sales, kind of in line with what we want to see. So that's it. Again, as you fill this out, everything calculates. This, as you fill out the week, is going to get smaller, obviously. Um, so both of these, as you can see, versus last week versus last year, as you add transactions, both of those numbers are going to change. So the labor is a running total, as well as the food costs. So you can see right now it's showing 103%, but as we add more sales, that's going to come down. So that's pretty much it. Again, like I said, the best thing that you can do to control your food and labor costs is just to start paying attention. Don't just order blindly. Don't just schedule blindly. And after you've got all this set up to add a new week, it's super easy. I've highlighted these two cells gray, the week beginning and then the running food cost total. Just highlight all the rows, right click, insert rows above, and then you can just literally copy, Control C, and then paste it right there. You'll change the week to the next week, drag it over, reset the actual lines, and obviously you need to fill in last year's sales info. But assuming that was actual last year's sales, and then this is reset. And again, only the yellow cells are the ones that you need to change. But I hope you found that useful. If you'd like a copy of this, just look in the link, the description below, how to get your copy, and we'll see you on the next one.